Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today is going to be a little bit of a pulse check. If you remember day 12, we did one of those and just kind of allowed whatever needed to come out, come out. So that is going to be what today's overview is about. Day 25. And honestly, I am exhausted as it relates to this case. Like I'm kind of like over covering it, but something keeps pulling me back to it. Um, and I want to address some of the things that have come up because there are some new developments, not just in the case itself finally today, but also in the energy. So let's just go over everything. Um, Another thing is that when I pulled on this overall energy for the Nancy Guthrie case, I was intent on tracking movements and trying to like refine the who and the why. Remember, we've been going over that. Go back to the other readings because every reading does kind of build on itself. So, again, I'm just allowing whatever needs to surface to do that. Right now, I'm not doing any interrogation or narrative forcing, just whatever comes up. Okay. So, this is more of a matrix update before we go deeper. All right. Now, before we do any stress test individuals, okay, individual people within the family, rather, before we do any mapping, because I do want to get to that, before we isolate any of these roles further than what we've already done, we need to really understand like the current field, okay? Because the landscape seems to have shifted a bit. And I just kind of want to tighten things, see if there's any clarification, any collapsing going on, all of that, right? So, um, first couple of things that came out, we did have some directions as far as like cardinal directions are concerned. South came out. This could be like an endpoint. I don't really know my directions very well, but this is part of the reason why I have this as a card because I'm pretty sure someone listening does have a better sense of direction, understands the landscape of Arizona, all of that. So any thoughts, comments, and all of that, please, please, please leave them down below. Um, this could be like a final stop, like I said. It's something here that's like also very close. So there could be something that's very close nearby in the south direction. I don't know. Mountains and ridges came out. So there's that. Again, this doesn't necessarily point to where Nancy is currently located. This could just be in reference to where she was last seen, whatever the case. Security camera glitch, partial recording came out. Now, this card came out before we even got to the point where they showed us the new suspect a couple weeks ago or last week, whatever the case is. All the days are running together. So it's back out here again. And I think yesterday, the day before that, there was clarification about the days of what they showed us as far as the picture of the person on the front door. Those are supposed to be 2 different days. I did say something to that effect in one of these previous readings where I said that I wasn't sold on the idea of this necessarily being the night of the kidnapping. It felt like something either to do afterwards, like a cleanup, like somebody wanted to go back and look at something, revisit something. I visit their dreams is here, back out again. So I do feel like Nancy's energy is very, very strong still. She could be, I don't know, I'm just seeing her kind of like hovering over a particular person. I don't have the visual of who that particular person is. However, I am seeing a person. Okay, it's like she knows who this person is. We've already covered the fact that she knew the person very well. Again, trying to hold back my speculation on what that is. Now we have foreign or domestic terrorists here. We have the card another country. Farther than expected, which is kind of confusing because it's underneath south. So isn't that a phrase, south of the border? South of the border. So that does feel like Mexico. But again, it's like I can't really pick up on the specifics of what that is about. Okay. Hidden in plain sight, very close is out here again. So something is very close. This could be in reference to even like evidence of some sort, or they could be getting really close to something or finding a detail. Vehicle movement analysis is back out here again. There could be some developments that came back from as far as like, what is it, ballistics or forensics, whatever the word is, when they do all the testing and dusting the car and all of that, something came back. Group complicity is here. This is part of the reason why I felt the need to do the next video. You'll see what that is, but that is more so getting into the dynamic within the family, because there is something about the family being complicit. And there's different groups. Okay. So there may be some person who is involved or knows something. There's other people who are speculating and know something, intuitively, but they're not saying it. Okay. The last witness is back out here again. Remember, we found out who the last witness was at one point, and then they switched the timeline on us. They said Tommaso was the one who dropped her off. And then I think they realized and backtracked and was like, actually, that doesn't sound right, because that puts him at the scene most likely, or whatever the case is. So then they said, oh, we just sent her home in an Uber or whatever. Like the details about how Nancy got home from dinner never really clicked for me. So whatever story changed up there, we're gonna find out in the interrogation room in the next couple of videos. But feds on the way. Now, mind you, I pulled this energy yesterday. Okay, so it's Wednesday, and today is the day that the feds came swarming in. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, let's move on to some of this directional stuff, because I'm going to clarify it, but I did need to get it out. We'll clarify it in a later video. Okay. Now, the most probable zone is what I wanted to find out. And this is where it's like kind of mixed messages. Some of these cards I refreshed this deck with new cards. So sometimes when I do that, the interaction with the cards that have already been present within the deck take a second to calibrate. So bear with me as we go through all of these details, because again, I've had to go through them myself just to organize them, and then whatever. So that's part of the reason why I'm not shuffling right now. It's just we're going to deal with the current big ass board. So most probable zone, we have something about a secret child in the family tree. Now, I don't know what that is about. That seemed a little too random to me. I don't know of any younger children that they have. I don't feel like there is a discrepancy, like with something going on off to the side with a third party. That's not what's I'm picking up on. I'm wondering if the siblings, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron, if any of them are like half sisters, half brothers, whatever. Now, I know that's kind of like maybe random and maybe not super relevant right now, but it has crossed my mind. Annie kind of looks slightly different than Cameron and Savannah. And I'm wondering if that's for a reason or if that's just a random situation. Let me know in the comments if you know any tea, but let's move on. So for the most probable zone, we also have west and southwest. There's something about unmarked zones. Perhaps like a back road could be significant. Now, I know there's like not that many ways to get to Annie's house or get to Nancy's house. Like between Annie and Nancy's house, I think there's like a long road. I've seen it a few times, like an aerial view, and I've also seen photos and video of like their kind of setup, the street setup, and it does look like, or I've seen and heard people streaming that it's like only but so many ways that you can get on that road and exit. Okay, so I don't know if there's another back road or if a back road nearby is significant, but they need to look there. Also, border is here, edge of town. So there could be something about her being close or getting close to a point or being moved close to a point that's near the border. That's where the south of the border energy in the Mexico might come to, but I don't know. Okay. Again, I'm literally okay with saying I don't know and being wrong rather than jumping the gun, because there is a lot to unpack. Now, the immediate next step, the next action step or direction cue is that I'm being shown as far as law enforcement is concerned is to go towards this border. And then also something about southwest. There could be some type of conflict southwest. Now, I do feel like what we are looking at as far as the Nancy Guthrie case, it feels like a one big case that involves other stories. Okay. So I feel like I've been picking up on this before, where some of the other reported stories that we're hearing surrounding this case, or even like around the same time, do feel connected. Okay. So We do know yesterday there was something that popped off in Mexico, or the day before yesterday, with the El Mencho, whatever his name is. And if you've been following me, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But if you've been following me, I was talking about early on, this was around like day 10, day 11, go back to those readings where I was talking about how this was a national security issue, and it involved, something to do with Mexico and Mexicans, whatever, and possibly some brute force kind of group, perhaps the cartel. But that energy is also unclear too, because the cartel is not just the cartel. I've said this before. There's a bunch of bad actors right now, and they have signed up to be part of different groups that aren't necessarily what you would expect. So say for instance, this is just an example, but say there is a white American man, he may be a bad actor as far as like law enforcement is concerned, but he has a close association to someone in the cartel or does something in the cartel. Okay. So if you see, that's kind of like an alliance of some sort, but you wouldn't from face value expect him to be considered in the cartel. That's what's going on behind the scenes in a lot of different sectors. Okay. Side note, there's a need for them to control the narrative. So they're shaping it actively right now. And I think it does have something to do with this immediate next step. So whatever it is that they're doing right now, some of it feels like it's for optics to control the narrative, but we've been seeing that kind of happen throughout the case. And the excuse has been kind of like assumed that it has to do with the sensitivity of it being a kidnapping. But I think we've all moved past the idea of her being kidnapped. I think we kind of understand that this is some type of murder for hire, or that's kind of what I'm leaning more towards, or something that went terribly wrong. However, there is something here about in plain sight. Again, this energy of in plain sight, very close, right here. Something is close. Now, I think this may also have something to do with a specific person, but I digress. Okay, let's move on to what could have been overlooked right now. Like, is there an overlooked area, something that the investigators have ignored? And it does have something to do with being in plain sight or just in somebody's face. There's a dark hooded figure here. I don't know if this is something that someone has seen. Maybe they haven't made an official statement about it, but this card has come out before. There's something about it being like very inconspicuous, or somebody who is familiar maybe, but they couldn't tell who the person was. Something about that. Okay. False alibi planted. We're going to get into this because I've already suspected this with a particular person. Now, most danger zone. This is where maybe search teams could exercise some caution, because I did hear earlier this week there was some conversation about law enforcement saying that a search team wouldn't have to get a permit. There was some conversation about, it was weird energy on Monday, to be quite honest. It was like the neighbors were really flipping out over the media. I totally get the idea of wanting to have privacy. But I do feel like if you are a concerned neighbor to some degree, I would just kind of like allow the presence to be there for the sake of, the case. I don't know. I just can't imagine screaming to like media just because they're out in front of my house. Meanwhile, they're looking for an 84-year-old woman. Okay. So anyway, moving on, the most dangerous zone is something to do with where they took her. Like, okay, these cards, again, like I said, they kind of aren't making full sense right now because they are new. But there's something to do with a search team getting close and that being dangerous. So that's kind of why they probably put that thing out where it was like, don't look without a permit, whatever. Now, I also know that there could be a need to preserve as much as possible, even though they are losing time. But I would rather them do that than have compromised evidence, if you get what I mean. So we have also underneath this card, we have private cloud holds the truth. This card has come out before a lot. I think this is going to have something to do with this false alibi that was planted, because picked up on around, I want to say day 12, whatever that video is where I posted the thumbnail of Annie receiving that text message from the fake ransom person. Go to that video. I talk about how she possibly gave a statement that did not corroborate with some like timestamps, like an official something, like timestamps, something that you can check, data on the phone, something that is like verifiable. Okay. So that could be her or somebody else. Again, we'll get to it. Now, let's move on to what we have over here. This again is going to talk, I mean, it's going to kind of touch a little bit on movement, point of origin, and all of that. But I also feel like we're getting into some of the why, some of the motive, even though we've touched on it. But I've been kind of tiptoeing around how I do that because, again, the case is still fresh. I want to make sure that I'm coming from like the clearest, most possible, space, and that I'm tapping into source energy, not the grid. Because, I feel like some of what is going on with this case is meant to throw you off on purpose. We do know that there are other major headlines going on simultaneously. So let's continue. Now we have point of origin here where they were before things shifted. Okay. So this could be in reference to people involved, the victim, whatever. There's a financial binding card here. This has come out before. Somebody has been in a financial bind, were in a financial bind. They were about to be approaching one, whatever. I don't know. But this is kind of like what started all of this. Now, the first movement or the first place that may have been where Nancy was moved or taken to or went, whatever, feels like there's something to do with northeast, the direction northeast, or some type of communication, something to do with the phone, camera, something in that direction. Okay, so that can be anything from like assistance, maybe some type of interference, something. Now, for the last or the secondary movement, we have the secondary movement. This is like where the transfer may have happened or some type of detour or direction shift. This could be in reference to actual movement or movement within the case. Okay, so keep that in mind. Some of these things can be a little bit more fluid than others. Now we have innocent but accused. This is when the case kind of got thrown off. And I think this is when they started to lose a lot of time going after people who were innocent. Now, this could just be them trying to cover all their bases, follow all the leads, but something went wrong there because either they got thrown off, or remember the reading where I said somebody was thrown off the scent? Like they were being thrown off the scent, thrown off the case. Something to do with scent, though, was significant. Okay. Multiple vehicles used is here. Off-road vehicle is also here. We've talked about a few times how the energy I have picked up on is that there were different modes of transportation used. Okay. So whether that be to move Nancy or to just get from point A to point B, to connect with another person who may be involved in the situation, whatever the case is, but multiple vehicles were used. Okay. And I think that's why we've been seeing a lot of like talk around vehicles. Remember when they pulled over that person near Rio Rico? Not the guy that they arrested, but they pulled over another person. They detained them, let them go, but they searched through their truck. And then prior to that, they had Annie's vehicle sent in for forensics, whatever. So there's some type of speculation with movement, like where is Nancy question comes from. Well, where is she? It's more like, where did she go? Like where did she go then? Like, okay, well, she couldn't have just disappeared. Like, something about her not. So in one of these other readings, there was something that came up about her like leaving clues everywhere. Like she had strategically placed things, not cognitively, like not super conscious of it while it's happening, obviously, but it's more about like her energy on the other side is showing like her in that reading, because again, I don't even like referencing. Part of the reason why I have such a hard time with this case is because I picked up on maybe about 3 or 4 days of me getting into this case that she was gone, right? So I'm having an issue somewhat with doing these readings so frequently because I like to say I don't talk to dead people at all. Not because I don't do that, but I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. It's like I don't try to contact them. I try to see if there's something I need to pull from that to say, maybe as far as a message that needs to get out there. But I'm not sitting there communing with them, right? So, but that energy from the reading that I did before was like the card. There was a card that said I left clues everywhere, if you remember. And that could be anything. That could be like the blood splatter, the fact that there was like so few drops. There was not much else that they said they found. The DNA that they found in the house could just be regular DNA that's been left around because we shed hair, we shed skin cells. There's different things you can maybe not wipe up some old blood. It didn't sound significant, but there are things that she did leave. Okay. I don't know why I got off on that tangent, but that is super important. Now let's get into the interference point. So this is something to do with like the who or what altered the path of this case, or just like the path of movement. Someone changed their story, and someone has like some type of lack of empathy, or this has been expressed in some way. I'm picking up on like an interrogation room, not necessarily because they've been accused, but there's something that maybe an investigator is picking up on a particular person that shows either a lack of empathy, or they're questioning this person's empathy or capacity to empathize. Something about that. Very psychopathish kind of energy. Now, current direction, where the energy is headed right now, as far as the case, a child saw everything, is back out here again. I do not like this card because it's supposed to be a quote kind of like card from energy from the possible other side, right? And we do know that there are 3 siblings that are alive in this whole case, right? And there's been some speculation of one possibly being involved. This right here is telling me that I think from what we know, we have a pretty good sense of what's going on. Now, an item missing from the victim, this card has been coming out a lot as well. And I feel like this has something to do with either a piece of jewelry that Nancy wears that they can't find, or they found it in a strange place, whatever the case. Now, we have hidden pathway. There's something that's in a tunnel, in an alley, some type of road, waterway. There is just some type of either it has to do with a hidden pathway, or this person felt like they had a sure path to something. Okay, because this card also points to internal access. So it's like, and then underneath the card is cash out, to clarify. So it's like this person thought they had like a sure thing, like this was going to be an easy in and out, this no hiccups, kind of too easy to get caught, somebody thinking that they're a little too smart. So and this has to do with like them changing something, clock tampered with. So there could be like footage that was deleted. This could just also have something to do with the Nest camera that was obstructed, whatever, okay, taken down. The They Were Jealous card is out here again. What blocks discovery, why they haven't been found yet, is because of whatever this person is holding back. There's somebody specifically holding something back. They're holding information back, and it's very irritating. I don't know. That's kind of like the energy that I'm getting. It's like they're holding back something. Now let's move on to this last segment, and then I'm going to close out. All right. Because we do need to move on, and I don't want to get too stuck, because I feel like when I start picking up on too much, that's when you see me on this 3 to 4 day hiatus. Okay. So last time there was confirmed energy. This is not necessarily going to be the reported actual time. This has something to do with the last time that there was a confirmed presence of Nancy alive. Okay. It happened a night before an announcement. Now, this card has come out before. I was thinking that this had something to do with, like the night before, in terms of like, okay, February 1st, we got this announcement that she was missing. Okay. So she could have been alive. But I do know I got a certain point within the case and I started to feel like, hold on, I was questioning whether or not she even possibly died around that time or was missing around that time. Like, I was questioning whether or not that was specifically the last time. Now, this night before an announcement could also have something to do with, I don't know why I'm picking up on the Olympics. Okay. We know Savannah was set to move or to go out to present on the Olympics for the Winter Olympics or whatever. She didn't end up doing that. Now, the why she didn't end up doing that is still in question. I've done a little mini reading on, well, it was more like commentary where I was talking about Nancy and her current position at NBC and how her role at the Today Show was kind of like in jeopardy. So if this is around a time she could have gone missing before there was confirmation about travel details. I don't know. Let's move on from that. I don't know. Now, the immediate surrounding environment. This could have something to do with the terrain, the building site, proximity, whatever. There's something to do with a boat or water. I don't understand why this is coming up again, because what did I say just a second ago? Something about like a hidden pathway or a tunnel. This is where, I don't know, that what is that? I took a boat, a train, a plane. That is the energy I'm getting. It's like movement. And then I'm trying to figure out if this is just Nancy. I mean, she's not alone if she's doing all this movement. She's most likely not alone. But I'm saying, is this Nancy or is this just energy I'm picking up from people involved? Like them coming from different places or being like their origin place could be different. They came into town to do something and went and left. And, like if it's that, or if it's like transporting a person to and fro. Now we do have 8:00 being here. This could be 8 in the morning, 8 at night. That was super significant, but it's something about Thursday around the 8th. I mean, no, what am I talking about? 8:00 on Thursday. Thursday is a significant day. I feel like she went missing on a Tuesday, but I could be incorrect about that. Somebody let me know in the chat. But whatever day that was, Thursday could be significant. The 11th could be significant. There could be something that got exposed on the 11th. I don't know if this is where I feel like I've seen this card before, but there was some type of opening in the case or some type of like new direction because of something either happening at 8:00 on Thursday, on some Thursday. I don't know what Thursday. Now, remember, they also have been requesting the timelines for January 1st to February 2nd or something like that. So it could be any one of those Thursdays, child. I don't know. But it's some type of plot or some type of false trail that went on around this time. And somebody could have given some wrong information. This is where that alibi situation, the statements, there's something that somebody said that was just so incorrect. I cannot let up on that. Now, misinformation containment strategies is also here. This, I feel like, has something to do with like when that person said something, they realized they needed to be quiet right away, or they were advised to. We've been picking up on this, okay? Nothing new. However, and they took something from me is back out here again. So whoever this person is, they're a thief and they're a liar. Okay. I feel like this is a good place for us to kind of like, I don't know. I just feel like some of this stuff I didn't ask for and it still came up. And because of that, I feel like the cards are really trying to show specifics about tracking, narrowing down this radius. I don't feel like it's that hard. So if there is false starts, or if we do feel if there are actual delays within the case, a lot of those things are missteps from law enforcement, whether they be intentional or not. That's not really important. It's still a misstep. It's still a problem, okay? Because it has changed the pace of everything. So I think we can solidify some more things later on, but this reading wasn't about naming anyone. Like I said, it was about checking the temperature, and I do feel like the field is tightening. Even though I have said for a while now that I do think that this case is going to go intentionally cold, but something is going to surface, or it could just be a situation where the energy needed to tighten up just so that the structure could crack of some sort. I don't know. That's part of the reason why I want to do these stress test next, okay, with each family member, then do some mapping. And then I also want to get into the power structure, what's going on within the Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI, because remember early on we found out that there was some conflict. If you've been following the channel, you found that out before it was official. Okay. Now, if you want to continue to follow this case with me in real time, please stay. Make sure that you subscribe. Hit the like button if anything resonates with you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, we are layering this strategically. All right, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you are picking up, and I'll see you in the next breakdown. Bye.